Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome once again, the Restaurant Technology guys. I got my partners here in the room with me. Good morning, Jeremy.
Good morning, Gary.
And my young associate, Mr. Williams.
Good morning, Gary. Jeremy, good morning, everybody.
Today's webinar, Making Sense of Next Generation POS. This is a great topic. You know who we are. Actually, do you guys know who we are? Let's take a second. I'm the guy on the left, the old guy with the beard. You got Ryan, our youngster, in the middle, our millennial representation here, and then Jeremy over on the right-hand side.
Getting older by the day.
Totally. With another kid on the way. Congratulations, it's around the corner.
Yeah, it is.
Let's jump in. Sorry, guys. Today's agenda, identifying next-gen POS, the benefits, cost savings, revenue generation, operational efficiencies. We'll hit those suckers. We'll try to hit them right on the head. And then Restaurant Technology guys' recommendations, RTG. And then finally wrap it up with your guys' questions. Please type it into the box. We'll answer them as we go through the presentation. If we aren't able to slide it in during the presentation, obviously we'll get it in the Q&A section. Identifying next-gen POS, Jeremy. What is next-gen? What defines next-generation point of sale?
Well, and I would start with just its origin and where did it come from? Because as you look at some of the traditional vendors that you guys all know and have been out in the market space for a long time, the PosiTouches, Micros, and Alohas of the world, they started pre-cloud, pre-tablet, pre-technology as we know it today. And so they are trying to play the game of catching up to a lot of, and all of them have tablet type solutions and all of them have some cloud offering, but that's not the way they were built from the ground up. And so when I talk about next gen POS, we're looking to identify it and define it as stuff that started from the ground up as cloud and available on the tablets, available in multiple ordering modes with different devices from the ground up. It wasn't started in a Windows 3.1.1 world or even a DOS world.
Right.
So you know, lots of people that I would even go to a call center and ask today in a technical call center, what is DOS, and half of them aren't even going to know. So
yeah, these guys, you know, next generation to me, being obviously as Gary pointed out, the millennial, it's the ones that when I look at it, you know, I say this is a my generation kind of technology. It's, you know, I grew up with technology. I grew up with computers. I've never known a world without a computer, and that's the kind of technology that people like me, business owners that are my age, you know, we're coming to expect.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
Yeah, so it's kind of store-centric versus cloud.
Versus cloud and you know, available on multiple device platforms and. But definitely not built with the old mindset in mind, built with kind of a newer mindset as to how they go about doing business.
And then why are we there today? What has caused us to be where we're sitting? I mean, I know that's an unusual way to make the statement, but where we're sitting today with technology, why have we arrived here?
Well, and I think that if any of you guys have been listening to us talk or even the news media out there, the consumerization of IT has crept into every aspect of our life. People are expecting technology to be all over the place, whether it's, you know, it started with the banking industry years ago going to ATMs and then the airline industry with their self-check-in kiosks. But as we look at that, it's going to continue to proliferate into our world. I was just talking to a coworker who's in his 50s just before the webinar today, and he would talk to me about the computing power that's in your iPhone that you have in your hand right now is more computing power than the entire Apollo mission had in their entire, you know, to land a space shuttle on the moon. And so more and more these days, we're getting to a place where everybody's got a computer in their pocket, everybody's got a tablet, you know, sitting on their coffee table, and that's the way people are. They want to be mobile, they want to be, and so we in the point of sale space are continuing to feel that pressure to figure out how do we marry the old stuff with the new way that people are looking to compute in these days.
Yep, and why should a restaurateur care? Your consumers are sitting there.
Your consumers are expecting it, and your staff is expecting it.
And then what are the characteristics of these systems?
Yeah, I think that we talked about that, and so think about those things, and they are significantly less expensive. They might not have the longest life cycle, or as long a life cycle as a Micros terminal or an IBM terminal, but at the same time, they're much cheaper to get into, and so oftentimes you can buy the same product 2 and 3 times over before you buy the big, traditional point of sale.
So Jeremy, we're all familiar with, how much an iPad costs or how much a tablet costs. What kind of costs are associated with the industry hardening that you spoke to?
Well, and again, it depends on your use case. You'll hear me say that a lot, but it depends on your use case. But I think that getting, first thing you need to do is find some method for payment, because there's no reason to have a point of sale system unless you can get electronic payments. And so adding that ancillary device to it needs to be there. But then the hardening portion of it, it could be something as simple as an OtterBox that you pick up as a consumer device, 2 devices that, 2 casings that CVS and others have put together to make these devices. There's a partner that we use called Vault Enclosures. They do a phenomenal job with putting enclosures around different tablet solutions that can run. And so you've got to buy these types of stands that are going to mount the devices and hold the mag card readers and or EMV devices in there. And so a lot of times, but they're not exorbitantly expensive. You're talking about a couple $100 at the most to get some of these stands and some of these casings on there.
Yeah, realistically, to really give you a dollar-to-dollar cost comparison, if you're taking a $500 tablet and a $200 stand, you're at $700. You take a traditional point-of-sale terminal, pick a manufacturer, it's going to range anywhere from $1,000 up to $2,000 plus.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But moving on down the line here, so let's take that same terminal and let's take a new terminal with a tablet-based point-of-sale system in it, one of these next-gen point-of-sale systems in a retail-hardened or in an industry-hardened case. The installation that is involved with that, what kind of cost is associated with the installation on your traditional point-of-sale system versus one of these next-generation point-of-sale systems?
Well, and one of the things that I probably didn't hit on as hard as I could have, maybe I should have, is I would also say that that next gen, you need to consider wireless. I mean, wireless is the way that everybody's going, which does add an additional cost if it's done properly with a wireless solution, because you don't want to put your point of sale, kind of the heartbeat of what's going on with being able to accept payments on a consumer grade device that isn't hardened. We talked about security being one of those things. But at the same time, it's oftentimes cheaper to put wireless in than it is to run cables and electrical and do all of these things to get it to the way that our traditional point of sale, dedicated electrical, isolated ground, power protection, and then get a Cat5 run. You're talking about a few $100s a terminal oftentimes if it's not already run and in your building, versus wireless. You get a 6-terminal system and you put a $1,000 wireless environment in. But you know what? That cost spreads significantly versus that same 6-terminal system to run cables and electrical and power bars. You're talking about a couple $100s a terminal. So you're at $2,000 versus $2,000 to $3,000 versus $1,000. Significantly less expensive.
If you guys have any questions about that wireless, be sure to reach out to us. We'll answer any questions about segmenting up your wireless. We also have a video on YouTube that we did with a webcast a couple of months back that does a really good job. So if you have any questions, be sure to check that out.
Cool. And then lastly, the smaller footprint.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a tablet is a much smaller, especially in a lot of markets. I mean, space is a premium. Restaurants are a manufacturing facility for food, and they deliver an experience. But space is always at a premium, and so finding a small enough tablet to fit into your service station and these kind of things is oftentimes very compelling to help make you guys, utilize the space to service guests rather than to have technology take up that space.
And then one of the other cost savings is the upfront costs that are associated with buying your software versus the SaaS model.
Yeah, no, and you guys heard me allude to it earlier that we're definitely seeing that a lot of these next-gen POS systems are going with software as a service where you're paying monthly for your solution, and there's some that are even incorporating your costs into your credit card processing. And so, but oftentimes where you would take a 3-terminal POS system and it might be $15,000, now, traditional, now that, when I say 15, I'm just throwing out a number. It could be 12, it could be
20,
13, it could
right.
be 20, depending upon what you're doing with kitchen videos and things like that. You typically are anywhere between half and a third of the cost on the hardware front, and then you pay for the software as you go. But even in our traditional PosiTouch world, where you would pay a certain dollar amount up front for your point-of-sale software, now you're not having to pay that. You're paying as you go. And so, some of the statistics out there say as many as 70% of restaurants fail within the first year. Well, if I'm making a huge capital expenditure up front to invest in this, and then I fail 70% of the time, well, now I'm left with this asset that has no value to me versus me doing out of operating expenditures. And if I fail, then you know what? Sorry for the POS company, but it's easy enough to walk away from it because the business is no longer running, so I don't need that software.
Right. No, absolutely. And that leads us right to another cost savings.
Yeah. No, and you guys, if you guys were to listen to some webinars a year or two ago, we talked about one of the factors that you need to consider as you're buying traditional point of sale is what does the upgrade path look like, and how often are they upgrading the software, and what are the costs associated with that? With most of these next-gen POS systems and software as a service, you're getting new software as it's released from the manufacturer and it gets through QA. And so you're always up to date on the latest, greatest, whether it's PCI compliance or some other mandate that comes into effect. You're getting those pieces of software real time as they get released.
Yep. And your software support is included in that also.
Yep. In most environments, it's included in the cost of running that software.
And then here's another big one is the enhanced security.
Yeah. No, and as you heard me say, whether it's PCI or other things, with most of these, you've got additional levels of security both on the wireless and in the card processing environment. So
that cost savings can't be realized until you're on the front page of a newspaper.
Well, that and the fact that your PCI scopes oftentimes is significantly reduced when you get to higher levels of security with some of these next-gen POS systems and doing end-to-end encryption on the card readers.
It's a lot easier to do that self-assessment. That's not as many questions. It saves you a lot of time.
It's a lot of time, and oftentimes, you're using somebody else to help you do it, and you're having to pay them for that.
Absolutely. So we talked about cost savings and benefit number one. Benefit number two is really going to focus on revenue generation. And so omni-channel, over and over again we bring it up, but it's putting the order capabilities in your customers' hands wherever they may be. Do you want to be traditional, or I shouldn't say, do you want to have point of sale for a cashier? Absolutely, not a problem. Do you want to put mobility into your consumers' hands? Absolutely. It just keeps going.
We kind of talked about the characteristics of these next-gen point-of-sale solutions is the flexibility and the agility of the systems to be where your guests are at any time. If they want to make an order, they can make an order, and you can take their money. They're saying, hey, we want to buy food. We want it, we want to look you up on Yelp. We want to hit Yelp, go to your mobile-friendly website, be able to order food from your mobile-friendly website, and have it be available for me in the lobby in 15 minutes. And I know that I've personally looked at restaurants that I'm going to take my girlfriend out to for dinner, this weekend, and I need to have that accessible to me at any hour of the day. Being able to it's just being able to take the money when your customer wants to give you the money. I mean, that's what it boils down to.
Well,
it's also the fact that you can be where your customers are when they need you, whether it's web, at the table, in a kiosk environment, from a point of sale, without having to have 15 different partners to facilitate that need.
Right.
In traditional point of sale, you have to have 15 different partners to facilitate that. Now, with a lot of these omni-channel ordering solutions, it's built in and it's baked into your point of sale.
Exactly. So when you have an update, because we just talked about how these are always up to date, you don't have something breaking. You don't have a bridge between two systems that are going to break, right? Because it's all the same system.
Yep.
So it's just great.
Well said. And then faster table turns. This works in a couple different scenarios, Jay.
Yeah. No. And I would say that as you guys look at these next-gen POS systems, the ability to order at the table, pay at the table, whether that's through a server or through a kiosk, or through a tabletop medium with a tablet at the table. Those are things that are going to allow your guests to pace their own meal. If they're trying to get to their kid's recital and they need to get their dinner fast, they can do that. If they're on a date like Ryan was just talking about and they want to be there for 90 minutes or 2 hours, they can do that as well. But at the same time, you allow the guest to enter your environment, not a whole lot different than the omni-channel answer. You allow the guest to control their experience, which is really what people are looking for. And so being able to pay when they want to pay, being able to leave when they want to leave, being able to order another round of drinks when they want to be able to do that, all through one system, allows for guest involvement, as well as being able to turn tables over faster because they're not waiting for you to have to pay or waiting for you to have to come back with a check or tip and these kind of things.
And statistically, it's showing that people are tipping more, not tipping less. It's not reducing jobs. It's increasing satisfaction. It's increasing engagement. And speaking of engagement, integrated loyalty.
Yeah, and again, you gotta think about this from a lot of different angles. But loyalty, you guys have heard us talk about loyalty for a while now. Loyalty to a brand and loyalty to a product is huge. There's a lot of different people that are huge fans of different brands out there. Being able to talk with your guests through your point of sale in those environments is huge.
Yeah, the ability to capture my information, my email address, my phone number, my preferences.
And be able to communicate with me about what offerings I have and those kind of things.
And then upsell. A number of different ways, and it's hard to graphically represent this in a webinar, but the ability to pop up promos or sling up upsell opportunities, leading your server through the order process or leading the consumer through the order process.
You know, if you guys have any questions about that kind of promos or suggested pairings, you know, we'd love to take it offline and kind of give you guys an idea of how it works, particularly on Northstar order entry. But really, if you look at, let's look at the way people order now on a traditional menu. They order with their eyes. It's statistically proven that people order the food that there are pictures of. Let's say you put your whole menu on a tablet at the table, or let's say you put your highest margin items with a photo on a tablet at the table.
And I mean, there's whole businesses that do menu engineering to put the highest margin items in the certain spot where people look. So being able to do that on a tablet, as Ryan was talking about, can drive more revenue to revenue to the top line, and ultimately more profit to the bottom line.
Let's say you're a really busy restaurant. People want to sell advertising. You know, maybe you're in Chicago and there's a Broadway show or a ballet in town, and they want to advertise in your restaurant. It's totally a revenue. That's a revenue opportunity. Selling games and selling music. It's the opportunities when you start looking at some of these next gen solutions. The difference between them and some of the solutions that that we all know and that we've all probably used. That's when the differences really start to kind of emerge.
Absolutely. So we talked about benefits number 2 in the revenue generation. Let's jump to number 3 and operational efficiencies. Natively integrated tool sets.
Yeah, no, and depending upon what solutions you choose, and again, we're really familiar with some, less familiar with others, but as you look at these things, because they're built from the ground up with new tool sets, integrating, if the solution doesn't have your off-the-shelf inventory management and labor management and scheduling tools, most times to build those into these next-gen POS solutions are a ton easier than they are with the traditional systems out there, because there's no legacy to have to deal with. And so you've got a lot more flexibility and scalability to be able to have open APIs and ability to integrate. And you know, that's a really geeky technical term on APIs, but the language by which they speak for the non-technical people out there is so much simpler than the old methods. It allows us with Northstar Order Entry to do an integration to an above-store reporting solution in a day or two, whereas with the traditional point-of-sale solution, that might have taken a week or even a month to get done.
Yeah, it's super exciting for us when we're going to integrate with best of breeds like Restaurant Magic and See To It, Crunch Time, Compete, Mirrors, any number of major players and they report back to us the simplicity that you're describing. We know that we've made it. We've made it. It's at least into the new generation of technology that is truly open.
And that simplicity that we experience and we enjoy, it just gets passed on to the IT department at your restaurant.
Yep.
Because you know what? When things work together on the back end, they break sometimes, but it's a lot easier to manage when things just natively integrate with one another.
Right, in one product.
And I will say, you know, it might sound like we're contradicting ourselves. That says all of the upgrades happen, and it's all part of the same solution. At the same time, because the way that these APIs are written, it no longer happens that if you are using a third party, the stuff that breaks doesn't break anymore because it's written seamlessly integrated to the two solutions rather than, so when you do an upgrade, it's not this Herculean effort to look at the third-party integrations because it's all documented and it's easy and it's out there. So yeah, you got to consider those things.
Back in the day when you'd do a software upgrade for the point of sale, you'd do an upgrade for the integration, and you'd do an upgrade for the recipient of that integration. And so,
yeah,
data. Boy, data. Ryan talks about it all the time in our webinars. We have to have access. It's this pertinent data that makes our businesses hum.
Yeah, no, and being able to know what your consumers are buying, what their preferences are, being flexible to be able to get real-time data. Again, another advantage of being on new technology is the data streaming to the cloud. We talked about cloud-based being able to be managed and being able to be reviewed and being able to see sales data from anywhere that you are is huge.
And that's another thing, that data can be a point of differentiation between these next generation point of sale solutions.
Agreed.
The availability of the data to you as an operator, you want to make sure that if you're collecting the data, you want to make sure that you can actually access it. And some people give it to you for free, some people give you a portion of it for free. Some, you may have to pay an additional fee to access certain points of the data. Those are questions that you need to ask as you're surveying, trying to find your next generation point of sale machine.
Yep. And then cloud-based management, the ability, as we spoke of earlier, to hit a URL from any web-enabled device and have access to that data, that information, the ability to make changes.
Changes in pricing, changes in configuration, changes in employees, all of that stuff. We just had a customer on Friday that was on vacation and would call, and he was making changes to his menu from his vacation spot, from the golf course. And so being able to do that and not being tied to a single location is something that's critical as you look at next-gen POS.
I want to talk about two things before I move on to the next bullet. As we talk about data, and cloud-based management, the two most often questions that I get are, what does your redundancy look like in the store? So let's answer that, because there's differentiators. As Ryan just mentioned, this is where you start to see the differentiation between cloud-based providers. We put a little server in the back office, a little Lenovo device that's going to communicate consistently with the terminals, the tablets in this instance. If that back office goes down or I lose internet connectivity, Jeremy, where's my redundancy?
Yeah, no, and you can still, some of these cloud-based solution providers will function offline, others will not. And so you've got to consider looking at things like, does credit card processing happen offline when internet goes down? Because internet inevitably is going to go down. Does it function for point of sale functionality when it's offline? And so thinking about and evaluating what does cloud really mean, and if it's all cloud, what happens if the cloud goes down?
Right.
Am I able to operate my restaurant? And some it's yes, and some it's not. Gary would allude to the fact that with Northstar order entry, we have a server in on property, so if the internet goes down, it still is able to function. You might not be able to do online credit cards and some of those kind of things, but considering those things as you guys look at these next-gen POS systems out there and understanding why or how, and in certain environments, it's fine to be completely cloud-based and not have to worry about internet. So.
Absolutely, and so whether it's that little server in the back, we have the operational redundancy built into order entry, and whether we lose connectivity or not for the internet, you've got your credit card redundancy also. Reduced learning curve. We talk about this, and we've been talking about it for years now, and it bears repeating. 300 million plus iOS users out there. So we approached point of sale and this omni-channel software from the standpoint of guest ordering, and we've taken that into POS and all the rest of the modes with the notion that someone should be able to learn how to do it in a minute or less.
Yeah, no, and I think Ryan said it earlier, you know, the millennials are the people that are coming into the workforce and are already in the workforce. They grew up with a computer in their hand, and or at least a computer on every desktop. You know, Bill Gates famously put that out there, that, you know, he wanted a computer in everybody's house. Well, it functioned for Ryan's generation and even younger, and so with that, they expect to be able to use this system without any training. And so making sure that your system is written in such a way that you don't require a whole upfront training cost is huge. Being able to do a training class in 30 minutes or less to be able to understand how the system works, and having the staff be used to doing some of the functions that they would normally do on their iPhone or on their iPad is something that taking advantage of those things reduces some of that training cost and does give you some operational efficiencies.
Absolutely. And because they're on these already consumer electronic devices, we're already used to, you know, shutting the apps down and restarting them and doing all the troubleshooting ourselves. So it could save you a 15-minute phone call to the provider, or, you know, however long the phone call could be to your provider, just to have them tell you to shut the app down and turn it back on. So, you know, there's some efficiencies there too.
I laugh because as technology advances, reboot has never gone away.
Yeah.
So flexibility. Lastly on this, with operational efficiencies, the flexibility that a cloud-based solution delivers, one of the things that is paramount, and people that have installed traditional point of sale knows that that scope of work has to be tight and rollout has to be really dialed in, whereas when you've got an app on an iPad and you're downloading it, minutes, literally minutes later.
No, and
your terminals
and
are up and running.
we talked about it with omnichannel, being able to have a tablet to move around and you know, take it out to the car and, you know, for curbside as well as use it for traditional point of sale, make the device multifunctional. It can be a tablet that's a fixed point of sale at certain times, and then when you want to flip your operational mode to be able to go upsell drinks and desserts around the dining room, you can do it. And so
exactly. I mean, we were doing demos at NRA, and we were showing people different products. And then I would take the iPad home and use it as my work device. So your ROI is a little bit more broad with these next-gen POS solutions.
Yep. Cool. So, you know what? RTG, Restaurant Technology guys, we recommend Northstar Order Entry. This product, we talked about omni-channel. We meet those needs with POS, web, kiosk, guest, mobile, and data all built into one fully integrated software application, cloud-based.
Yeah, no, and you guys have heard us talk about this solution. It's not for everybody. You know, there's certain people that aren't going to be able to take advantage of a lot of these different solutions, but lots of people are considering going to these different modes, and at a minimum, you need to be thinking about these things for your next generation point of sale, because if you're not, and it's not a fully integrated, fully baked solution, you're going to end up running into some difficulties later down the road.
It's another impetus or a block between you and your consumer when you can't be where they need you to be so they can order your product.
Yep, agreed.
So what makes order entry so special on the back end? How does this all work?
Well, we've built an enterprise level database from the outset, and it's wrapped by ECM, Enterprise Content Management, so I can access that database. You want to carry on from there, Jared?
Yeah, no, so ECM is a tool that allows you to access that enterprise database for managing, and you know, we talked about cloud-based management, that allows you to manage your menus, allows you to manage your employees, and allows you to manage your settings from a cloud-based solution to be able to manage your point of sale from wherever you are. And your point of sale could be traditional point of sale, it could be web ordering, it could be kiosks, it could be ordering at the table for guest-facing user interface. And so all of that is managed from one central portal, and you don't have to go into your web ordering system to change your prices, and then into your point of sale to change your prices, and then into your tablet stuff to change your prices. All of it's from one interface without having to have different bridges, as Ryan would talk about. Lastly, all of the data comes up from that same enterprise database into, to the cloud, real time, as transactions finalized for sales reporting, labor reporting, and any form of external sources that you're looking to integrate to, financial systems and otherwise.
If you guys have have an evaluation going on, we'd love to participate in the discussion. Having looked at numerous products, it makes it easier for us to jump behind this endorsement. Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, and like we said, Northstar order entry, we think it's really, really cool. Yeah, it's our product, but we've seen a lot of different products out there. A lot of these next-gen point-of-sale systems, we try to go to the shows and talk to the different reps from all the different companies, get demos. That way we're educated so we can bring the value to you guys. And you know what? Reach out to us if you're considering it. We've seen just about every single one of them out there.
Yeah, we can talk about, with intelligence, Breadcrumb, Lavoo, Revel, Square, each of these products. And as Jeremy mentioned earlier, each of these products has their space. We're actually pretty enthusiastic about all the players within this space because, one, the herd mentality movement is actually in motion, and we're sitting in the right spot. But two, it's the right way to do things, and CBS as a company is well positioned with a robust software like PosiTouch versus a next generation software in Northstar order entry.
Yeah, no, and truthfully, there's a lot of great products out there, and our product is not for everyone, but we will help you find what the right product is to fit your business needs if you guys, and we're not going to look to charge you any money for it. We're not looking to shove our product down your throat. We really want what's best ultimately for you and your business need if you guys want to engage with us and let us help you determine those things.
Absolutely. RTG entered this space wanting to educate people into the right decision, and we'll stay up that path. So let's recap. What is next generation? Cloud-based, wireless,
agile, mobile, and hostile. just like Remember the Titans.
And then why pay attention to it? It's the consumer. It isn't the RTG telling you this technology is coming. Your consumer's asking for it. They want it. They're going and gravitating to the establishments that empower them.
Mm-hmm.
Cost savings and feature capabilities. Obviously, the cost savings indisputable when you talk about a $2,000 terminal versus a $500 tablet. You add in the retail hardening, it comes up a couple $100. At the end of the day, though, those capabilities and that durability can be there, and the cost savings mitigates the additional expense if you have to replace it.
Yep, no, completely agreed.
And then make more money. I tell you what, anything that gets the CEO's attention, nothing more than make more money, is, hey, folks, we can create new revenue streams leveraging one technology to better manage our business and be more efficient. And then do more with less. Less integrators, less third-party players.
Less hardware needs, less maintenance needs, less upgrade needs, less, having to have all of these different things. You got to consider those things to make yourself more efficient and allow your guests to interact with you and do more.
So, folks, we're right to the Q&A session of the webinar. Go ahead and send in your questions. Ryan, anything you got popping up right now?
Yeah, we've got a couple questions coming in, and thank you guys so much for your questions. They were really good. And I know we're running pretty tight on time, so I'll pick out the best ones. But if you guys have any questions, be sure to reach out to us via email, Twitter. We'll share our contact information. What's happening with the traditional software providers, the traditional point of sale? Are they a thing of the past? Are most companies moving towards these tablet-based POS systems?
Great question. I'm going to pitch this over to you, Jer. But really, the traditional point of sale has a place. what we see happening, and you might agree or disagree, what we see happening in the market right now is you've got two sides of the fence. You've got one side of the fence that really is going to lean towards traditional because it's got 20 or 30 years worth of software development, so they're feature rich. And then you've got the other side of the fence that would rather be next generation because of mobility, because of cloud-based, because of managing multiple stores or managing multiple franchisees under one format and giving them either the freedom or taking that control back into corporate.
Yeah, and I would say, so the largest player in our market, numbers of billions of dollars is Micros. Mm-hmm. And a couple of years ago, they tried unsuccessfully initially, and then it's been more successful to get to a cloud-based solution provider in their Symphony product. Mm-hmm. If you look at their earnings statements, because they're a publicly traded company, they make a lot of money on hardware, they make a lot of money on maintenance. So changing over to the software as a service model is a difficult proposition for them. Yep. So they did go with kind of a software as a service model, but kind of kept some of the traditional hardware stuff. And so I don't want to say they've reinvested significantly. Some don't have the funds to reinvest that same money. Others out there are reinvesting, and over the next few years, they're going to try and play the catch-up game to catch up to the Northstar order entries and the Rebels and these different players that are out there that have taken it and built it from the ground up. And so I think a lot of these people, some of them are sitting on their laurels and saying, you know what, there are a lot of people in our space, and I go to these meetings, will say, it's consumer stuff, nobody's ever going to buy any of that stuff. If you would have gone to a trade show 3 or 4 years ago when the iPad came out, I sat and listened to some industry experts talk about how that thing is never going to work in the traditional point-of-sale world. Yeah. Well, guess what?
Well, look,
it is.
Yeah, Stacked is a perfect example. One of our customers had well over 400 iPads out in the field, and when iPads were released in 2010, consumer device, that isn't going to last. Well, lo and behold, 2.5 years later, after they'd been opened with hundreds of iPads, they had two that broke. So yeah, let's go to the next one.
Great, thanks, guys. That was hopefully that answered that question. Another question is referring to the tablets and talking about industry hardening. Why not just go with enterprise-grade tablets designed for restaurants rather than adding a bunch of money to build these consumer-grade products up?
Well,
I'm gonna say, I mean, I'll jump on that one. And again, we'll preface all of this with this is just kind of our opinion, guys, and we're really looking to put this stuff out there and have some dialogue with you. There is a camp that says go with the industry-hardened stuff. And I'm not completely opposed to that in certain environments. Mm-hmm. There are certain times, whether it's outdoor readable or it's in an environment along the beach where you need to make sure that liquid's not getting into them. But the vast majority of people can use a consumer-grade device. It makes it less expensive. Oftentimes when you're talking about industry-hardened hardware, and we sell some of those providers out there, the product ends up being almost as expensive as a traditional point of sale in a tablet form. And so with that, it's just the cost is there. And then serviceability makes it really difficult for those things because if I'm using an iPad, you drive to the local Apple store, you drive to Best Buy and go pick up that consumer grade tablet and now you're back up and running versus paying a maintenance provider to service that unit that they may or may not be able to service it. And so there's two schools of thought that says go with the hardened stuff that's been rated for IP54 rated for military grade for drops and heat and liquid and all of those kind of things. And in certain environments, it makes sense. Oftentimes, when you look at the cost comparison, I can buy a consumer grade device with a little bit of hardening 2 or 3 times over that industry hardened device. And if you really think it's going to last 3 times, then maybe it makes sense. 3 times the length of time. But the other one is flexibility. Software is always changing. Do you want to get locked into something that's 10 years old? You don't put a 10-year-old desktop out at somebody's desk or laptop. So why would you want to have a 7 or 8 or 9-year-old point-of-sale terminal out there that people are looking for?
And you also have to consider the platform that your solution, that your selected solution runs on. It may not run on there may not be an option for an industry-hardened solution. It may be something out there.
Yeah, and we'll keep reporting on this. We go to NRF every year in January to speak to this subject specifically.
Great. So last question, guys. I'm going to wrap it up. We'll keep it short for you. Is there a certain business model that tablets and these next-gen point-of-sale solutions work for best? For example, fast food, or can it be used in a traditional sit-down dining experience?
It can be used in both a sit-down dining experience, but where we see them most these days is in fast casual. We see, fast casual is the biggest growing segment in our industry. And so with that being the fastest growing segment in our industry, you're seeing them adopt newer, sexier, sleeker technology that can put this stuff up in the cloud and make their ability to grow faster.
Completely agreed, and I think that you're right on there, Gary. I think it's something that, depending upon use case, it's possible to put them anywhere. But I wouldn't look at a segment and say they're absolutely not available for that, because we've seen even talk to people in high-end fine dining restaurants that have talked about putting it in their bar to allow people to manage the jukebox and/or order bar drinks. They might not put it in the dining room, but they're going to put it in the bar on a bar top. So.
Hey, thank you guys so much for joining us. We are so grateful for your participation and attendance. We will feel free to connect with us. You can see our mugs up there with our phone numbers and our email addresses. Our next webinar, August 4th, we're taking the month of July off. We wish you guys all a great summer vacation for those of you with kids and families and all the get-togethers that go along with it. God bless you and be safe this summer. We'll connect with you in August. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your help today.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.